Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And in today's episode we are flying from Los Angeles, California back to our hometown in Tucson, Arizona. However, throughout the flight we're going to be discussing quite a few different things. We're going to be taking a look at a trim calculator. We're going to be taking a look at a Flex Temp calculator. We're also going to be taking a look at holding patterns. And then quite a few other things as they come down the road here. Timestamps to everything will be down in the description below. So without any further delay, let's get started with the show. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. Okay guys, so as I said, we're going to be going through quite a lot, so I'm going to get this thing rolling and get it rolling pretty fast. However, I know a lot of you like a more slower and a little bit more detailed tutorial. There will be certain parts where I'm very detailed and certain parts where I'm a little bit on the fast side. If you guys have any questions about the A320 or want to learn how to fly the A320 from scratch, please consider joining me on Patreon. Levels tier 2 and above have access to all of my PDF tutorial guides, which are all full flight guides from cold and dark at departure to cold and dark at your arrival location. There's also an advanced MCDU guide for the Airbus aircraft that is also in current development. The initial release is out there and available, so please consider checking that out, as well as any of the other videos on my channel, as they were all very detailed tutorials. So all right, end of the speeches, let's get started. I already have our flight plan created, so a matter of just getting rolling here. So we're going to do battery 1, battery 2, get our ADIRs 1, 2, and 3 on, come on down and turn on the electrical power. That helps. And we're going to turn on our crew oxygen supply. Wing lights and nav logo lights come on. No smoking, no portable devices come on. Seatbelt signs remain off until the aircraft is fueled. Emergency exit lights are now armed. Fuel pumps will also remain off until the aircraft is fueled, as well as the APU. So we will not be doing the APU fire test just yet. Stepping downstairs for just a minute, let's set our cockpit up. We're going to bring up our lights as desired. Obviously, we have our PFD and nav display as well, upper and lower ECAM, and then the co-pilot side nav display, and there's the PFD, as well as brightening up the FCP panel. All right, from here we're going to simulate that we have completed our clearance and departure, clearance and departure, excuse me. And so we're going to come back and also set our transponder code while we're here. We're going to simulate we've been given 4112 as our transponder code. Set that over to the auto position. Verify that flaps are retracted, spoilers are disarmed and retracted as well, and parking brake is set. Cabin door lock at your discretion as long as it's before pushback. Okay, then come on, make sure that your fly pad is on here. As you can see, I've already loaded it up and loaded up the SimBrief flight plan here. We have our MEDAR information here. You can see we have visibility 10, few clouds at 1500, temperature of 14, dew point 9, altimeter 3005 today. So let's step back over to our altimeter and set the pressure. So we're going to roll that up to 3005. And verify we get the same on the pilot or co-pilot side, and then set our standby altimeter to match. Should be looking about 140 feet. And let's see here. Yep, we're going to call that good. That's good with me. All right. Let's see here. So where were we? We got our, just doing the quick cockpit check, make sure I didn't miss anything in the cockpit before we get into programming the MCDU. Let's go ahead and fuel the aircraft. So we're going to come down here to our flight plan. We're going to go over to the clipboard, go to operational flight plan, scroll up until we see block fuel. 14,781 pounds is what we're looking at today. So I'm going to step over to the fuel page and back that on out, and 14781. Set your fuel time to your desire. I prefer instant. I'm very impatient when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and load it up. Boom! Magically, our aircraft is fueled faster than you can ever imagine because we're just that good. Landing here. Oh, that's kind of cool. We have our slopes and all that. That's very awesome. Cool. Okay, let's go ahead and move on forward and get over to the MCDU now that we have our information set there. And actually we'll step upstairs. We'll turn our seatbelt signs on. I'm also going to start the APU and as well as bring up the beacon light and turn on our fuel pump so we are ready for engine start when it's time. Now, stepping down to our MCDU, I'm going to first go to the ATSU menu. This is going to give us the option to load the aircraft with passengers and cargo. We're going to go to weights and balances. Now, again, this requires the SimBrief integration for this to work. But as long as you have that set, we can simply hit OFP request send. I want to turn the gain up on my microphone just a little bit there. And let's go ahead and turn the pickup on. All right. Hopefully that's nice and clear. I've noticed lately my videos, my microphone is really quiet, so it's been making me a little concerned. So forgive me if I'm tooling with that a little bit here and there, but we'll work through it. Okay, so at this point we can hit start. And again, I have my boarding set to instant. That can be done through the MCDU menu, through ATSU, and so here it's AOC. Oh, no, sorry. I do want to show you guys how to do that real quick. I gotta remember how to do it, honestly. Hang on a second. I'm trying to find our options page. It's not FMGC. No, that takes us to the FMGC menu. Where do you find the configuration? It used to be in here. Oh, you know what? It's over on the FlyPad. I'm sorry. That was my fault. That would explain why I wasn't finding that. So in the FlyPad options under realism, I believe is where you will find that. So forgive me. All right, so let's get back to the flight plan. So we're going to go to the initialization page. We're going to hit initialization request again, requiring the SimBrief integration to be configured. My previous videos will walk you through how to do so, as well as the PDF guide. So we're going to clear these alerts or the status messages letting us know that part is being completed. We're going to move to the flight plan page and we're going to see what our departure is. So with the SimBrief integration and with real world piloting, you can plan whatever route you desire, of course. That's up to the company. However, when it comes to your SID, Standard Instrument Departure, and your STAR, Standard Terminal Arrival route, you can hope for whichever one you wish. However, at the end of the day, it is obviously up to air traffic control how you get in and out of their airspace, which is why the SimBrief integration does not automatically populate your SID and STAR. You still must enter those in manually. So let's go ahead and take a look and see which ones we have today. I'm going to go back to our flypad. I'm going to go to our clipboard, go to our operational flight plan, and we're going to roll up until we find the route. So here we go here. Coming out of LAX, we're expecting runway 07 left using the Tootsie 2. So let's move on, or Tusty 2, my bad, Tootsie. Sorry, that one made me giggle. Anyway, gonna set our departure here, and there's 07 left. And let's find our departure. There's the Tusty 2. We're going to select that, and Canary here was our transition. We're going to hit insert. Our departure is now set. Let's go ahead and select our destination. We're going to go to the arrival. Now we are expecting runway 29 right, but we'll see if we actually get that, or hopefully the runway will be, or the weather will be in a way that we can take 11 left, which would be nice because it'd be straight in approach. We're definitely going to want 29 right on the RNAV there. And they have us coming in on the Dingo 5 arrival, and Gila Bend should be the transition. As far as the VIA, let's find out from Navigraph. So the VIA is how we are coming off of the approach, or off the star, excuse me, onto the approach. So let's find Tucson. Let's open the book here. And there's our Dingo 5 arrival. And let's see what we got coming in here. So from the Dingo, there it is there. We're going to come all the way down. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted the approach, not the star. And we're looking for 29 right. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Forgive me there. And let's see here. So we're going to be coming in here. 29 right. We have Eileen is a VIA. And Sully. Huh, who knew? And neither of those add up to what we have here. So it looks like we're using either one of those. Let me go back and check the star chart real quick, make sure I didn't miss something. It might have been right in front of my face. Wouldn't be the first time. No, Gila Bend is our transition, so this is where we're going to come in for the star, exiting the approach here at Dingo, it looks like. So, all right, in that case, we're just going to select no via. So we're going to hit insert. And then our transition here, as I said, is the Gila Bend. So we're going to select that as well. And we're just going to hit insert. Okay, now we have a flight plan discontinuity, so let's take care of that first. Let's find and see what it looks like. Oh, I apologize. So just went through and selected the Gila Bend as our transition was the only change that you guys missed. Forgive me, I didn't realize I had the screen up still. All right, so now we're going to verify our flight plan. We're going to go to plan here. We're going to go up to about 20 miles. Actually, you can go further than that, honestly. And then from here, there's KLAX. And we're just going to, and there is our discontinuity right there at the start, which is very interesting. Let's double check that our departure took it correctly. So 07 left. Test T2. Let me make sure that I read that correctly. I was pretty positive that it was, oops, wrong one. Yep, Canary. Oh, I'll get that off the screen. There we go. So that's all correct. So we just have discontinuity. Interesting. All right, so here's how we're going to take care of this. The first thing that we have to do is manual is expecting a manual adjustment. So whether it be longitude and latitude coordinates or some sort of vectoring that's been required, and that's why it's looking for that. So what we're going to do here is first we need to clear the issue that's causing the flight plan discontinuity. In this case, it's the manual waypoint or the manual entry. So we're going to clear that first. From here, we can now clear the flight plan discontinuity. And now when we go back to the PFD, you can now see the lines are connected. Discontinuity is going to show as a break in this green line here. All right, so I'm going to zoom out a bit more. I'm trying to keep as much into the camera as you guys can get. All right, so there we go. Zooming in. Doesn't look like we have any other issues. We're also looking for any weird waypoints, any weird backtracks, things like that, things that just don't quite make sense. And actually, this looks fantastic. Okay, cool. So the only thing left here would be, oh, there's another discontinuity. So what we'll do here is just clear. And this one we can just clear the discontinuity itself. And there it connects us. Now this is kind of interesting. That is very interesting behavior. So, alright, so it doesn't quite know what to do here. So, you know what? I think maybe we should figure something else out here. This is a good plan to, so this will be the first thing that I think that we're going to show. So what we've got going on here is we've entered in our flight plan, and now at our transition point onto the approach, or via onto the approach, we're supposed to be coming for 29 right. 29 right is going to be an entry from this direction. We're going to be landing from the southeast. Okay, so in order to do that, you can see what we've got going on here is it's got us basically flying directly down onto the runway, and that just doesn't work. That's going to be a 1-1 left approach, which we don't have. So we need to make an entry after MCDU and get us onto the right direction. So for here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our Navigraph charts. And actually, you know what we might be able to do? Let's double check with the flight plan, see what it has us doing. So there's MCDU right there, and it's got us going directly from there to KTUS. All right, so that is what the flight plan's showing us doing. However, that's not going to work out. Now, it'd be one thing if we had ATC to vector us in, but today we're not flying with air traffic control. So we have to solve this one ourselves. I don't know why I closed that. Let's go back to Navigraph, and let's see what we got going on here. So MCDU is here. And, oh, we need to get onto the approach page. Let's get to the approach page. I feel like the approach didn't select correctly. Oh, you know what? But we also selected the RNAV Yankee. There we go. Oh, you know what? That's what I did. I was on the wrong page when we looked before, guys. And see, this is why you double check your stuff. Okay, so in this case, we're going to go back and we're going to need to change that. So we're going to go back to the arrival page. We need to select our RNAV Yankee, which is what I had selected before. So 29 right Yankee. Should be this one here. Dingo 5 is still correct. Gila Bend is still correct. But we need to get back to the VIA page, which is interesting because it's not taking us there. Let me come back here. arrivals. I want to change my via. I know it was the Romeo Yankee that I selected. Ah, there we go, vias. There we go. And so here's our problem. So again, previously, oh, sorry. Gosh darn it, I did it again. This is where OBS still throws me off. I've only been using OBS for a short period of time, believe it or not. So coming here, what I had to do is, let's just keep it as is so I can show you guys real quick. So when I went to correct it, let's go back to the flight plan page, start from scratch. So I went to correct it. I select Tucson, selected arrival. And then we obviously have to find our runway again. So that was the RNAV Romeo Yankee 2908. And then it wasn't showing me the vias. You have to select it up here. I have never caught that before. Okay, and so now if we go back to our display page, all right, we can see here that now that I'm looking at the correct chart, which is right here, okay, now we get the vias that we were looking for earlier, and this is why the discontinuity exists. So we're just going to use waxes. I think that's a good approach. We're going to be coming down from the Gila Bend down through this way. We'll come in from a southerly approach and then turn on to our final for 2908. So at this point, let's go ahead and select that. So we're going to use waxes. There we go. Looks great. GBN. Yep, got it. Okay, and so now our flight plan discontinuity should be resolved. So let's zoom back in here so you guys can see everything, and let's just walk through it and make sure we got it right. Everything looks good there. There's Mava. See, now it looks much better here. So before, I told you we had it coming directly at it, and we didn't want that. So this time, now we're going to have a real nice approach. So, all right, flight plan is complete there. Let's get on, with the rest of our configuration. So we're going to go to the initialization page, switch over to page 2. The zero fuel weight center of gravity will be auto-calculated as long as you're fueled and loaded. Block fuel, we know that we needed. Easiest way to, I mean, you can just actually look at the upper ECAM here. Okay, 14.78. You can either round that up or I like to round it down. I'd rather have more than what I thought than less. So 14.6. Let that calculate. And then now we can move on over to our performance page. So from the performance page, next is going to be our next two tools that we're going to talk about. So let's jump into that. Okay, so for this next little tool I got, it's going to tell us our trim setting, and this is kind of fun. So what we're going to need there is actually we're going to go back to our initialization page, go back over to page 2, and we're going to need our zero fuel weight center of gravity. So that's going to be 24.4. Okay, now from there, we're going to go to our display capture again. And I know this tool's really small, so bear with me, guys, but it's the best I can do. I'll try to remember to zoom this in. But anyway, what we're going to be entering here is simply 24.4. And we're just going to hit calculate. It's real simple, real easy tool. And we have 0.9 degrees up is what we're going to be looking for the trim. So what do we do with that information? Now we're going to go back to our performance page here, and under flaps we're going to be using flaps takeoff 1 slash, and then we're going to do 0.9. Now here's the tricky part, up. Got to make sure that you tell it where you're doing with that trim setting, and boom, up 0.09 degrees. There's our trim setting. And then now next we need our Flex To Temp. So let's get on to our next tool. Flex To Temp is a derated engine performance, basically making the computer think that it's hotter outside than it actually is. Now, if it gets too hot, it's very important that you don't want to use Flex To Temp. If it's a super hot day, or you're super heavy, or it's super short runway, you want to use Toga. You want to use max power. Okay, but if you have a very long runway, it's a normal kind of day here, right? And you know, it's not too hot. Flex To Temp, what it will do is, again, makes the computer think the engine's, or it's hotter than it is really is outside, and so essentially allows you to use less than maximum engine performance to get the aircraft off the ground. That's the long and short of it. Now, what we're going to be using here today is this guy right here, and again, a link to all this will be in the description below. Now, it isn't 100% perfect because it's still using the CFM engines versus the Neo, but you guys will still catch the gist here. So here's KLAX. We have runway 07 left is already put in. Conditions outside are dry. Outside temperature is currently 14. Remember, we got that from the fly pad. Now, the other thing that you need here is your takeoff weight. Now, what I do here is you can do this a couple different ways. You can take it from the fly pad direct. Fly pad, I just did it again. Fly pad direct, or you can just go to the top of SimBrief. And you can just take it here. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't like, we're in a simulator here, right? That's why we say it's for simulation purposes only. And then I just use Google and I convert it from what the actual weight is in pounds to kilograms, because I use pounds, obviously, because I'm in the United States. And then we come back here, enter that number in here. PAX, your air conditioning system. Obviously, we want passengers comfortable. We want to be comfortable, so those are going to be on. Flaps configuration is 1. Then you hit calculate right here. Gives us our wind direction. As you can see, that it actually pulls live METAR information, and it's also telling me about the runway space available, almost 13,000 feet of runway. And we have our V speeds, V1, 129, 134, 137, and then that's what we're looking for right there is our flex temp. You're probably not going to want to use the V speeds again because we do have slightly different engines. These are the new engine option aircraft, right? Neo. So in this case, flex temp, though, we are going to use, so we're going to type 43. I haven't had it fail me yet. The aircraft always gets her off the ground. And then from here, transition altitude, obviously make sure 18,000 feet in the United States. Anywhere else, make sure that you check up and verify what your transition altitude is. Thrust reduction acceleration altitude. This is the altitude above takeoff or from takeoff that the aircraft will slightly pitch nose down, reduce the throttles to the climb position, and then accelerate to climb speed and then continue its climb. Engine out acceleration, again, altitude above ground, at which in the event of a single engine out at this altitude, the aircraft would then level out and accelerate up to climb power and continue the climb. All right, so we have V1, and let's see here. This might match. Well, no, it's already off. So 132, 133, and 137 knots. So the V2 is actually the same as what the calculator. Gosh darn it, I did it again. All right, guys. So here was the V speeds here. Here's the transition altitude. Here's the thrust reduction acceleration altitude. Here's the engine out acceleration. Here's where we entered in our flex temp, and you guys remember where we put the trim. Anyway, now to catch you guys up, I gotta start doing that. Such a pain. Anyway, 137 knots. Now, what I like to do, and what most pilots will do, is you'll see them either manually set the speed to manual mode up on the FCP, but I always like to add plus 10 knots, and most companies do. And the reason being is there's really no magical reason other than it provides a slightly better climb out performance. So instead of V2 being 137, we're going to put 147 for V2 plus 10. Now, this probably is not real world procedure to edit the MCDU like this, but I'll tell you what it does do. What it does do is eliminates the need for our simulation purposes. It eliminates the need to set the speed manually in the FCP. Now the computer will automatically set the target speed for 147 knots. So just keep that in mind. This is probably not real world operation standards there. So just keep that in mind. All right, so now we need to set our trim. So what we're going to do with that trim setting now is we're going to come here and we're going to go to the flight control surfaces. And let's see here. Where is our trim setting? There's our pitch trim right here. We're going to roll the trim wheel back until we see 0.9 up. And there it is right there, 0.9 degrees up. And that completes our both our trim calculations as well as flex to temp calculations. That should complete the MCDU configuration. So we are now ready for pushback and takeoff. So let's close the doors up and let's get the aircraft ready to go. All right, so as we get ready to go, our next step here is to set our takeoff altitude, our initial takeoff target. So God help me, I'm going back to the display capture. And we are now looking at Navigraph again, but we need to set this back to Los Angeles. From here, we're going to set our SID chart is what we're looking for. And we're looking for our departure, which I already forgot what it was. Oh, the Tusty 2. Okay, and what we're looking for is any altitude restrictions on the departure, okay? Or are we clear to just punch out and run? If not, contact with departure, return right, cross bullet at or 9,000 feet and climb to flight level 230, whichever is lower. Okay, so let's see here, takeoff obstacle notes. This SID requires takeoff minimums. Percent of minimums refer to airport chart. So 7 left, right, okay. And let's see here. So we're going to be departing out here. So we just need to be above 10,000 by Bully. Other than that, that is the only restriction target that I see. We got up to 15,000. Let's see here. Which way are we going? We're coming out here. We're coming out this way. So yeah, we're going to be targeting for 15,000 feet. So we will start there, my friends. All right. Turning off the display this time. We're going to set our initial takeoff target for altitude 15,000. There we go. Heading will be sure to match up as we take off. However, if you wanted to set that up now, which we can do, we'll go to our taxi information, go to airport information so we can see the chart. And we're going to come down here. This is as far as I can zoom this in, guys, but it actually says 07 left here, and the final runway heading is 071 degrees. So again, turning that display capture off. We're going to go to our heading mode and find, let's go, which way did I go? Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. Now we're going to tune it to 071. There we go. So now we also have our final runway heading set for takeoff. Flight directors are set. Let's see here. Constraints are selected. We have our display view. I like to keep it in close until we are clear of the departure. Let's return to the flight plan page on the MCDU. And let's see here. I think we are ready to button up. All right. Let's do our pushback and get those engines rolling. All right, let them good times roll. Let's step upstairs here. We have our beacon lights on. APU is now on and available. External power can be disconnected at this point. We did forget to do the fire test on the APU. My bad. But let's go ahead and do the fire test on the engines. Good. Engine 1. There's engine 2. All right, Gen 1 and Gen 2 should read fault as the engines are not running. Therefore, the generators are not as well. And now let's get our pushback ready to go. We know the transponder set. So let's get out of here. Let's find Pushback Express here. Or Pushback Express. Toolbar Pushback. Sorry, guys. All right, and we are ready to go pushback and start pushback.
Cockpit to ground. This is ground. Stand by.
And what we're waiting for here is all the ground equipment to clear, as well as the tug to hook up to the aircraft. You'll actually see the nose rise with this little add-on. It's a fun add-on.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed, and all ground equipment is removed. The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
All right, rudders are free and clear. We're doing our flight control test. You can see everything moving there. Probably should have done this beforehand, but that's all right.
Standing by for pushback.
And we're going to set reverse.
Cockpit to ground. Go ahead. We are cleared for start and push. Parking brakes set. Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Parking brake releasing.
Parking brakes are released. Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence. It will start in the sequence.
All right. Engine selector mode, or engine master mode selection over to ignition and step upstairs. APU bleed comes on. Back down to the bottom. Engine 2 rolling. That was my fault. Turned the wrong way. Can't hate the pilot too much for that. That wouldn't normally be our fault, right? Right? No? Alright. I guess you have to hate me for it. Oh, hello, Boeing. Alright, stop the pushback here.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Parking brakes almost set. There.
Parking brake set. Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft. Ground. You may disconnect. Okay, sir. Clear to disconnect. Pin has been removed. See you at the side. Have a good flight. Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
All right. Good times. So let's see here. Engine 2 is at idle. Now rolling on engine 1. Taxi light comes on. Runway turn-off lights. Turn on. Gen fault 2 clear. Good. Predictive wind shear can now come on. TCAS remains in standby till we're ready for takeoff. Or excuse me, no it doesn't. It goes to TA. Sorry guys, been a long day. I wasn't even sure I was going to do a video tonight, and I was just like, I don't want to. So, I am a little scatterbrained tonight, guys. Forgive me. Hopefully you guys are still learning something, having fun. Oh, I didn't mean to click it. Stop. Didn't mean to. Alright, both engines are available. We're going to leave the engine master mode in ignition. APU bleed can come off, but I'll leave the APU on. Now we're going to set flaps 1 for takeoff. Arm those spoilers. Auto brakes to maximum in the event of a rejected takeoff. Now we can hit the takeoff configuration. What are you talking about? I just set them. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Alright, let's continue onward. Takeoff config. And we'll hold off on calling the cabin for just a minute here. But other than that, folks, we are ready for taxi, so let's get on it. And it is going to be a night flight into Tucson. I know a lot of you guys don't like night landings, can't see things, blah, blah, but they're fun. Every now and then it's nice to have a night landing. Alright, so we got a bit of a taxi down here. We're going all the way down to, let's see here, we are taking... We're on Charlie, so we're taking Charlie 10 all the way down to Charlie 15. From Charlie 15, or Charlie 17, joining up with Bravo 17. At Bravo 17, we'll join runway 07 left. So, I'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. We got quite a, well, okay, that was special. Got a bit of a taxi, so I'll see you guys in a few. Alright, we're sitting here holding short of runway 07. Let's turn the TCAS into the TARA position. We want to see her, and I am going to start moving us forward slowly. Landing lights come to on. Nose wheel light to take off. And strobe light goes to on or auto. Let's, yeah, you almost missed it. Oh, gosh darn it. This is the problem with not having a co-pilot. I learned to lean forward and I bumped the throttle forward like a lot. Mercy. Not having a good ride here, guys. What drives me nuts is you can't move the camera around and manipulate the controls. When you try to move the camera, anything else you do, if you move the rudder pedals, anything like that, it ruins it. Yeah, that's okay, cool. Just cut me off, C-17. That's alright.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Oh, come on, dude. Damn AI. Wow, they just don't care, do they? I love how they're all 747s. 747s and C-17s. Gotta love the AI, guys. Gotta love the AI. Anyway, let's get going here. So we're going to start our chronometer. Throttle to approximately 50%. Verify stability. Aircraft is stable. Up to flex. Nose down, approximately 2 degrees. Downward pressure until 80 knots. There's 80 knots, releasing that downward pressure. There's V1. Rotate. Positive rate, gear up. Clear heading mode and return to managed. Flying the flight directors. Ooh. Thrust reduction altitude reached. Throttles down to the climb position. Flaps up. Autopilot 1 engaged. Aircraft has control. Flaps disarmed. Ignition back to normal. APU off. Plan back to arc. That's why the nav display looked weird. Extend out 80 miles. Alright, increasing altitude to our cruise altitude to 900,000 feet. Everything is looking good. All right, passing 10,000. Landing lights get secured. Runway turnoff lights could have been turned off at takeoff, but that's all right. Alright, from here we will continue our climb at 18,000. We'll hit the down arrow here on our barometer and set that to standard. But from here it's just a climb all the way up to our cruise altitude. So I'll catch you guys as it's time to start talking about our descent and holding patterns. Alright guys, so we have a couple things that we're going to be covering here pretty quickly here. So the first one is top of descent. We've just reached our top of climb at 29,000 feet. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot our top of descent. And what I'm going to be using for that is a really awesome tool that I prefer. Of course, there's many different ways to calculate this, but I actually find this one to be the best. At least the most convenient for me. Now, let's go ahead and go to our display capture again. Hopefully I won't forget to change it. So this is the top of descent calculator that I use, and a link to all of these tools will be down in the description below, so be sure to check those out. We're going to first go to Navigraph, and here we're on the star, but I actually want to be on the approach for Tucson. And we're going to be looking for that 29er right Yankee again. And we want to look for the initial fix. Okay, the initial fix is here at Atog. I don't know what that one is. And let's say our mandatory of 5,300 feet. So that's going to be our target altitude because we want to make sure we're down where we need to be by the time we get there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and first come over here, and we're going to do our starting altitude at 29,000. Ending altitude, what was that again? Let's double check. 5,300. Yep, 5,300 feet. So 5,300. All right. Initial speed, I use indicated here. Indicated airspeed here is 290 knots. 290 knots indicating. And by the approach, we're going to be at least 250 knots for 10,000 feet. We're going to be looking at top of descent at 79 miles away from the initial fix. So we want to make sure when this one pops up on our nav display at about 80 miles away, we're going to want to make sure we start our descent. So that is the first step there. And then I will talk to you guys about holding patterns when we get a bit closer. Okay guys, so we were going to, I will go ahead and make this a night or a day flight. I know a lot of you don't like that. Whoop, that made the airplane mad. Yes, I know. You're fine. You're fine. It's because I changed the time of day, so it changed the pressure. Anyway, so we were going to take a look at holding patterns. Unfortunately, it dawned on me that's in the experimental version. It is not released in the development version, so we're not going to be able to take a look at that today. But we will be taking a look at that in a video very soon because it's a pretty neat feature. Anyway, so that is what it is. Let's go ahead and move on with the day, right? Oh, am I going the wrong way? There it goes. I was like, why is that getting dimmer? Alright, so the good news is, though, is that there's MCDU there. So we're going to go ahead and set our target altitude. Remember, from here we're coming down to 5,300 feet. That's our target. And at this point, right about the time that we see a Tugo or whatever it was, I can't remember what the approach name was, but we'll recognize, or the initial fix. Once we see that, we'll begin our descent. And it should be any second here. See if we look up here. Yeah, we're very close. Well, it's about 90 out still. So I'll catch you guys in just a minute here. Okay, so we can go ahead and enter in our arrival information. Winds are 240 at 3 knots, so we will be continuing with runway 29 right. Visibility 10, few clouds at 7,000, temperature 7, dew point 1, altimeter 3005. Alright, so let's go ahead and move back to our MCDU. We're going to go to the performance page. We're going to go to the next phase again, next phase again, and that's what we're looking for. So 30.05 is our altimeter. At temperature was 7, and winds are 240 at 3 knots. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. 240, there we go, for 3 knots. Transition altitude is 18,000. Barometer for here. Let's go ahead and check our approach. And we're looking for 29 right on the Yankee again. All we're looking for is the runway information on this one, so it's not too critical. But let's see here. Touchdown zone elevation 2643 feet. And minimums decision height. Wow, it's 400. Let's see here. Yeah, hour and a half. So we're looking for 3137 on our barrow. Let's come back to that. 31. Oh, no. Darn it. Come on. 3137 feet. Drop that in there. All right. And we have an approach speed of 130 knots, looking for 125 knots for full flaps configuration. Alrighty then. So that is all complete. Back to our flight plan. Let's see where we're at as far as our descent. It is imminent. Alright, looking good. We're going to be setting our auto brakes to low for the approach. And some of the stuff we're doing very, very early. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. But saves a bit of time. Again, we're a one-man show here, right? Alright, and there's the initial fix. Let's go ahead and begin. We're just going to go into a manage descent. The aircraft's going to reduce speed to descent speed. Throttles are now returning to idle. You can see the aircraft slowing down here. And down goes our aircraft. Alright, so the descent has been executed. At this point, it's just a matter of waiting till we reach the initial fix. And we'll continue on. Alright. Oh, you guys can tell I'm speeding up time here. Passed through 18,000 feet, setting our barometric pressure. There's 3005. At this point, I'm also going to slow the aircraft down manually to 250 knots. We're going to give it some spoiler support here. I'm also going to go into an open descent. And actually choose some vertical speed, I think would be best. And let's descend at about 3,000 feet per minute. I feel like we're a little behind the curve, but maybe not. We may have more time than I think, but I'm still going to bring the nose down rather quickly. Just to make sure I stayed ahead of the game here. Like I said, that tool that I use isn't perfect, but it gets close. As long as you manage everything else, you'll do fine. Definitely a good starting point. Alright, spoilers are still deployed. We're below 10,000 feet. Taxi light for landing. Landing lights on. Runway turn off lights if necessary, but we're nice and clear today, so we're good to continue. Chime the cabin. Check our rad nav. Now we are doing a RNAV approach, so we're not going to have an ILS frequency today. Alright, there's 8,000. We're on track for our altitude, which is good. Coming in a little hot. Actually, we're a lot of hot. We've totally breached our airspeed requirements. Okay, not sure what happened in my previous recording. We are now at flaps 1, moving to flaps 2. Slowing the aircraft down to 180 knots. Approaching a togue. Our next target is 4,400 feet, so I am now setting 4,400 and moving into managed descent. It does show an altitude constraint. I don't know why the autopilot's all over the place on this one. All right. And from here, it is basically up to us. We could continue with a managed descent, but that just doesn't sound fun. So I'm going to let the aircraft line up here. I'm going to start a little early ahead of time. We're actually about 8 miles out. Landing gear comes down. Looking good. And setting our VREF speed. And there is Saxy. So disengaging the autopilot. She's ours. Continuing descent. Full flaps. A little high. Gotta do it. Gotta tell him. There's flaps full.
1,000.
And of course, I think I forgot to bind the thrust reversers yet again. But see if I remembered.
500.
Coming up on minimums.
400. 300.
On glide slope.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard.
Oof. Bounced. Alright. Not our best. Definitely not our best, but definitely not my worst, believe it or not. Alright. Flaps up. APU on, in case needed. Landing lights off. Taxi light stays on. Transponder. Or transponder. Jesus. Strobe light. TCAS. Predictive wind shear can remain on, but we're good. Go ahead and turn it off. We're heading to the gate here. I think that should be about right. Nope, nope, missed it. Still had a ways to go. Close enough. All right, in the gate. Reset. Taxi light off. Let's turn the power connected. APU can turn off. And engines 1 and 2 disconnected. And we'll let the next pilots hopefully do a better job of flying it than I did on that way in. We were doing good until the end there. That was pretty terrible. So, all right, my friends. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. And also be sure to check me out on Twitch if you guys haven't. Those live streams are a ton of fun. We have a group flight coming this weekend, which should be a lot of fun as well. So be sure to hit that link down below to be a part of that. I will see you guys, as always, in the next one.